All right, let's get into it. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on something that powers pretty much every modern company, but you almost never see it. We're talking about the invisible engine that turns a simple click into a huge, coordinated dance of data and decisions.
It feels so simple, right? You're browsing online, you find something you want, you click one little button, and boom, a few days later, a package shows up at your door. But that single click, it's like the starting pistol for a massive race that kicks off deep inside a company's systems. And today, we're going to follow the data and see exactly where it goes.
So that click you just made, it didn't just place an order. It kicked off what's called a business process. And this isn't some random series of events. It's a set of carefully planned, specific steps that the business follows every single time.
The easiest way to think about a business process is like a recipe. It's the company's official playbook. It defines exactly how stuff, whether that's physical material, information, or just knowledge, is supposed to move through the organization to get a job done. In fact, you could say a company is really just a collection of all these different recipes, all working together. And this visualizes that recipe perfectly. Look at this. You can see the order starts over here in sales. Then it immediately gets passed to accounting to check the customer's credit. Once that gets a green light, manufacturing gets the signal to actually assemble the product and ship it out. It's a classic example of how three totally different departments have to work together in one seamless flow, all triggered by your one little click.
Okay, so that one transaction, your purchase, it created a single piece of data. Big deal, right? But how does that one little data point become useful to, say, the CEO? Well, it has to climb a ladder. And at each step of this ladder, that data gets transformed into something more and more valuable for different levels of management.
At the very bottom of the ladder, the first rung, we have Transaction Processing Systems, or TPS. This is the ground floor. Its only job is to record all the day-to-day routine stuff. Every single sale, every shipment that goes out, every paycheck that gets cut. It's the workhorse, just capturing all that raw data.
And here's a perfect example of a TPS in action. This payroll system takes in raw data, like an employee's hours and their pay rate, and it just churns out the essential outputs: paychecks for employees, reports for the government, and basic updates for managers. It's a system built to do one routine job over and over with perfect accuracy.
All right, let's climb up to the next rung. Now we're talking about Management Information Systems, or MIS. These systems are built for middle managers. Their job is to take all that raw, messy data collected by all the different TPS systems and summarize it into clean, useful reports.
So an MIS doesn't really create any new information. Think of it more like a giant funnel. It's collecting all these different streams of data from the transaction systems all over the company, from sales, from production, from accounting, and it pulls everything into one central place.
And here is the payoff. An MIS takes thousands of individual transactions and turns them into a simple, clear report like this one. A sales manager can look at this and in about 5 seconds see, how are our carpet cleaner sales in the Midwest doing compared to what we planned? It literally turns raw data into actual intelligence.
But what if you have a question that isn't so routine? A question that you can't just find in a standard report? That's where Decision Support Systems, or DSS, come into play. These are the what-if machines. They help managers play with the data and model different scenarios to make complex decisions that don't have a simple, clear-cut answer.
For example, a shipping company trying to figure out the most profitable route for one of its ships would use a DSS. The system pulls in all sorts of data: ship speed, current fuel prices, crew costs, port fees. Then it runs a bunch of different models to help a manager figure out the absolute best plan. And notice the key word there. It supports their decision, it doesn't make it for them. It gives them the data to make a smarter call.
And finally, we've reached the very top of the ladder, the Executive Support Systems, or ESS. This is for the C-suite, the senior leaders. And ESS gives them a super high-level, bird's-eye view of the entire business, usually on a slick digital dashboard. It summarizes key data from both the MIS and DSS systems, and it even pulls in external data, like news about a competitor or new government regulations.
So, we've seen how information climbs the ladder within different functions, but how do you get all the different departments, sales, manufacturing, finance, HR, to actually talk to each other and work together seamlessly? Well, that is the job of enterprise applications. There are 4 main types we're going to look at. You've got systems that connect the business internally,
systems that connect you to your suppliers, systems for your customers, and systems that manage knowledge. Just think of these as the information superhighways that connect every single corner of the business and even stretch beyond the company's walls.
This diagram gives us a great mental model for how it all fits together. You see, down at the bottom, you have the core departments like manufacturing and finance. Enterprise systems are the glue that holds them all together internally. Then you have SCM and CRM systems, and those are the bridges that connect the company to its suppliers and its customers.
So first up is the big one, Enterprise Resource Planning, or ERP. The best way to think about an ERP is as the company's central nervous system. It forces everyone in every department to use the exact same data from one single shared database. So when a salesperson makes an entry, the manufacturing team sees it instantly. Now, installing a new nervous system is about as difficult and expensive as it sounds, which is why ERP projects are famous for being incredibly challenging.
And then, SCM and CRM systems, they look outward. Supply Chain Management, or SCM, handles everything related to your suppliers, making sure you have the right parts showing up at the right time. And Customer Relationship Management, CRM, is the other side of that coin, managing every single interaction you have with your customers to keep them happy and, hopefully, coming back for more.
Now, here's the thing. You can have the most advanced, expensive, interconnected systems in the entire world, but they are completely useless without the final and most important layer, people actually working together. The technology is just a tool. It's the collaboration that makes it powerful.
And the benefits of getting this right are absolutely huge. When teams collaborate effectively using these kinds of systems, you see productivity and quality just skyrocket. Innovation flourishes because good ideas can be shared freely and instantly. This leads to way better customer service and, of course, a much stronger bottom line.
But, and this is a big but, getting these benefits means you need a major cultural shift. The old school command and control style of management, where information is power and it's hoarded at the top, it just doesn't work with these new transparent systems. To really make this stuff sing, a modern company needs a collaborative culture where teams are trusted and a manager's main job is to build and empower those teams.
So, after all of that, why should any of this matter to you? Because understanding how these systems and processes work isn't just a job for the IT department anymore, not by a long shot.
It doesn't matter if you're in marketing, finance, operations, even HR, you are part of these information flows. Knowing how the invisible engine of the business actually works gives you the power to improve it, to innovate within it, and ultimately to become a much more valuable leader in whatever field you choose.
And that really brings us to the future. We've seen how data climbs this ladder, from a raw transaction all the way up to an executive insight. But now, with artificial intelligence and automation exploding onto the scene, you have to ask, what's the next rung on the ladder? What comes after the executive dashboard? Now that is something to think about.